What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here. This is Agent Carter, Season 2, Episode 10. I have such mixed emotions on this episode. Because on the one hand, I enjoyed it. It was fun, it was funny, it had good moments. It wasn't exactly the intense build-up I was expecting, or the intense climax, I guess. Because after the last episode, all of this stuff was going on, all of it was building up, and I'm just expecting like this huge, epic climax. They don't really have that. It was a bit cartoony, it was a bit cheesy at times, and it was all a bit predictable. And so, the title of this episode is A Hollywood Ending. And I wonder if that was the point. If they wanted to make it a bit cheesy and funny because that's just what they wanted to do. It was a Hollywood ending. Okay, I can accept that. It's not exactly the ending I was hoping for, but I can accept the fact that they had a plan. They wanted to end it this way, and so they did. Now, am I completely satisfied? Not entirely, but let me talk about what was bad first. I was just a teensy bit frustrated with how it opened, because it looked like it was going to be a very intense episode, or intense moment between Peggy and Jack, and then it just gets interrupted. It gets interrupted by Wilkes just exploding the zero matter energy out of him or whatever, and then they go inside. There's zero matter everywhere. Wilkes is alive and has no more zero matter inside of him. All the zero matter is now being drawn into Whitney, and they start walking out as she slowly stalks after them. I'm just like, first of all, the fact that Wilkes is still alive bugs me, because I don't know, it just seems kind of cheap for him to go bruh and then still be alive after that. I don't know. It seemed kind of like a cheap thing. Like if he had blown up and he was gone, that would have been crazy and kind of heartbreaking for Peggy. But the fact that he's just like, yeah, I expelled it. It finally wanted to release, so I released it. It was just kind of like, eh. And then Whitney Frost absorbs all of it, and instead of now that she has such a huge amount of zero matter, you would expect her to be able to do crazy things. We don't see her use those powers at all in this episode. The one thing she wanted was to get all of the zero matter out of Dr. Wilkes. He explodes it. It gets absorbed into her, and we don't see her use any of her abilities. Such a wasted opportunity. How crazy would it have been if she would have whipped out a tendril or something and grabbed, I don't know, Wilkes or Jack, one of them, and just pulled him in and then just absorbed him. How crazy would it have been if she was able to manifest this 10-foot beast made of zero matter that chased after the group? So many possibilities, because now she's got a lot of power, and you just don't do anything with it. We don't see her use those abilities at all. Not even once. Not even once to take out somebody who's in her way or take out somebody who's pissed her off. We don't see her use them at all. That's frustrating for me. It is frustrating for me to know that you have endless possibilities. You are Marvel. You could do anything you wanted with this, and I would have accepted it, because I don't understand. I don't get zero matter. It's supernatural. It's sci-fi stuff. So have fun with it. You already want to go crazy in most of your movies nowadays. You kind of accept that craziness, and you run with it, and it makes it enjoyable. In this one, all of this craziness, so much madness could have happened, and you don't use it at all. That's frustrating. And that is my biggest problem with this episode, is that they did not utilize her enough. She just kind of felt like she was there to sort of advance the plot because she's working on a device to open up the the rift or whatever, and so they have to steal her notes. Once she gets there, she doesn't hurt anybody. She just walks straight up to the rift and like they shoot her with the gamma ray. Zero matter squirts out of her hands, and honestly, what looked like Who Framed Roger Rabbit cartoon animation. It was probably the worst animation I've seen this season, which is saying something because there's been a lot of animation with the zero matter, her absorbing people. It didn't look real, but it didn't look like cheesy, cartoony stuff. This was really cartoony. Like the way I don't know. I don't know what they did. I don't know if they just lost the budget to do stuff for this last episode. Anyway, but yeah, so completely underused in my opinion. So that's my biggest problem. The other problem that I have isn't as big because I don't know. There are times when predictability things can be very predictable at times. The question is, are you doing it? Are you doing the predictable storyline in a clever way, or are you doing it in a way that just makes me go, completely saw that coming? This one was about half and half. Like when just as an example, I know I'm using shows that you may not watch, but I'll try to use an example that you can understand. In Supergirl, my biggest problem with their predictable episodes is that they are pinpoint predictable. Like every moment that follows is predictable. It's not just like, oh yeah, I saw the ending coming. No, you could predict every single second up until the ending. It is that predictable. Last night's, I'm doing this on Thursday, so when I say last night, I'm talking about Wednesday. Last night's episode of Criminal Minds, I predicted the ending, but all the stuff that led up to it was very cleverly written to the point where I wouldn't have been able to tell you what was coming next. I could see the ending, but what led up to it is what I enjoyed watching. This one was about half and half. Like, I could predict the ending easily. Sorry about that. I don't know if that's loud or not. But I could predict the ending easily. I knew that from watching the previews, especially because they showed like the main climax, I guess, was Sousa almost flying up into the portal and Peggy like jumping to save him. So I already knew that was going to happen. I knew Peggy and Sousa were going to get together. I knew that she and Wilkes were going to have kind of a moment where they kind of share just some feelings and stuff, and if only it had been a different time. I kind of saw that coming. I saw Jarvis wanting to help out in the end. I kind of figured it was going to be a bit more. I can't really remember how last season ended, but I do remember that it kind of ended with them talking about, oh, where do we go from here? I kind of figured they were going to do something like that, where Jarvis wants to go with her on more adventures. So I kind of predicted that. But then the stuff in between was kind of, I didn't see the henchman, Martinelli? What's his face guy? I didn't see him turning against Whitney. The scene where he has to distract her was not only brilliant, but also very funny. I mean, he's interrogating the guy. What are you doing with Tommy's group? And like punch it. I swear, I'm not working with Tommy's group. And then she goes to use the choke on him that she used on Dottie to get information. He's like, all right, I'm sorry. The feds, they approached me. And he's just like, wait, what? Johnny, now I gotta kill you. It was so funny. And it was all set up to be a distraction for Whitney, but then finding out that it's not, he actually is ratting him out to the feds. It's just like, that was clever. And then I guess, I knew they were going to close the portal. It was just a question of how they were going to do it. I kind of figured it was going to be, Sousa goes over there and is able to crank it while everybody holds on. I predicted that. I didn't see Jarvis stepping up and being like, all right, let's put the hover car in there with the gamma ray thing exploding and closing. that was a clever way to end it. But I don't know. It's just so back and forth as far as predictability. Like some of it is, some of it isn't. And so the parts that I'm predicting easily, I'm just kind of like, you know. And then the parts that weren't predictable were fun and enjoyable. So overall, I would have to say that I am kind of disappointed by this just because it's the season finale. You know, I expect big. Marvel does such a good job with their season finales. And Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. seasons 1 and 2 finales were absolutely brilliant. I mean, could not have asked for a better ending to both of those seasons. Season 1 season finale for Agent Carter was pretty good. And it was more the episode before that was better, though. It kind of worked the same way here, but it was like episode 7, because I think there were only 8 last season. Episode 7 was really good. Episode 8 was also good, but not as good. This season was like episode 9 was really good, and then episode 10 was... it was just okay. I enjoyed parts of it. So, overall, I have to say I'm disappointed, but I do... Okay, the final part I decided to save for after all of this, because it kind of feels like they threw it in there just to get you excited about Season 3, which won't happen till next year. So, on the one hand, I'm like... On the other hand, I'm like, man, I gotta wait for another 7 months, something like that. Hey, no, more than 7. More like 9. Anyway, I was actually right on one thing. Jack did die. I was completely wrong on how it happened. At least, if they try to pull this, oh no, he's actually still alive, the bullet missed all of his vital organs, he's okay. Come on, you just want to keep him on the show. Don't lie. But he's packing to leave. Peggy and Sousa just shared their moments, so he's like, oh, what? Peggy's staying longer? How many vacation days does she want? And then somebody's knocking on the door. I'm like, oh, no, this is not going to end well. Like, once that happened, once they were showing this scene, I was kind of like, yeah, this is going to be bad. They're going to end on a cliffhanger, aren't they? Opens the door, silence gunshot, and then takes Peggy's, I guess it's her redacted file from her time in the, whatever it was, helping Captain America and stuff. So, yeah, on the one hand, I'm kind of like, where are they going with this? Are they really going to kill Jack off? Are they really going to kill Jack? I'm just going to stop it there. But are they really going to kill him? And, why are they leaving this on a cliffhanger? What's the story next? Because they found out the pin that Dottie tried to steal at the beginning. They find Jack finds another one in Vernon Masters' little briefcase, I guess. But he finds it and finds out, oh, it's a key. So what does it go to? More questions about that. So there's a lot that they're setting up for Season 3. But I'm just kind of like, why? If this was an actual show, it would make more sense. Because a show has a fall half of a season and a spring half of a season. You have the winter months and the summer months off. So when you end on a cliffhanger on a mid-season finale or a finale, you don't have a whole lot of time in between to be like, oh, what's coming next? This is a spring, it's actually more like a winter/spring season. It's only 10 episodes long. I'm having to wait until next winter, pretty much. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 4 is going to start, mid-season finale, and then Agent Carter is going to be sometime in between that and then the second half of 4th season. So that's a long time to wait, which, not that it's the only show to do that, because Sherlock, if you guys know what the BBC version of Sherlock had 2 years in between its seasons. So it's not the worst wait, but for just a show that I'm watching for enjoyment and stuff, and a show that really hasn't been very, oh, this is intense and epic. to end on that note kind of leaves me with this feeling of I don't want to wait. I want to find out what happened now. It's too long to wait. What are they going to do? So a lot of questions, but overall it didn't really save the episode for me, and still disappointed. So I don't know. It's probably the first time I've really been disappointed with Marvel, because Agents of Shield started off weak, but now is very strong. Daredevil and Jessica Jones were both really good. Daredevil season 2 looks great. Agent Carter season 1 was fun. It was enjoyable. It was unique and felt like it was in its own time. And then most of this second season felt the same way. It felt unique. It felt fun. It felt energized. So many of the jokes really did land in this episode. So they kind of had a cheesy slash funny appeal to it. And so to end on a note like that just kind of, I don't know. It didn't do enough for me. So anyway, overall, obviously because it's the season finale, I'm going to do some final thoughts. The season overall was very enjoyable. I thought it captured the fact that it was back in time better than the first season, just because it was back in the day LA. New York still kind of looks similar to now. The cars were different and stuff. The dress was different too, but New York hasn't changed as far as like they had skyscrapers back then too. So to see it all like that was just kind of like, oh yeah, it's New York, and at times you're just like, oh look, an old car. I forgot this was back in time. LA, I don't know what they did, but they just captured that feeling of this show is set back in the 1940s. They just captured that feel so well in the second season. And I mean, it started off very strong. It kept me interested. I wanted to find out more about these mysteries, what's going on, what is this Zero Matter stuff. Whitney Frost was a very good villain, and the way her story ends is kind of, pretty creepy. Like, she's sitting in her cell, and at first it looked like she was sitting at her home again, talking to Calvin, and then I'm just like, wait, what's going on? Is she having a hallucinate? And then she's in her cell, and her face is like all scarred up, and she's talking to an invisible Calvin, and then the mob boss guy shows up with flowers, and the guard's like, you can't give her those because she'll try to scratch her face off. I'm like, oh, so she is absolutely insane now. But she was a very good villain. Even before she got infected with the Zero Matter, you could tell that there was just something about her that was dark and despicable. So, overall, this season, I was very happy with the season. I just wish it could have ended a bit better. But that's my thoughts on Agent Carter. So let me know down in the comments below what you thought of this season, what you thought of this episode, and what you think they're going to do with this, Jack getting shot and Agent Carter's redacted files getting taken. Leave a like and subscribe for, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. now or future Agent Carter content, and I'll see you at the next review. Peace out.